Welcome to the HyperHive podcast.
Today,
We're diving deep into a radical guide for women with ADHD. Embrace neurodiversity, live boldly, and break through barriers.
oh yeah,
This one was a listener request,
cool.
so a huge shout out to you for suggesting it.
It's a fantastic choice,
This book really flips the script on how we think about ADHD.
especially for women.
Absolutely.
It's not just about managing symptoms. It
It's about understanding how societal expectations and even our own brains.
can make things extra challenging.
Right, it challenges us to rethink the idea of normal.
And embrace the concept of neurodiversity.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit.
The book starts by talking about executive functioning and ADHD.
Can you give us a breakdown of what that looks like in real life?
Think of executive functioning as your brain's control center.
It helps you plan, organize.
Manage your time
Hmm.
and regulate your emotions.
But with ADHD,
That control center can be a bit glitchy.
imagine a symphony orchestra where all the musicians are amazing.
But the conductor is struggling to keep everyone in sync.
That's a vivid image.
The book uses that same analogy.
And it really helped me grasp how ADHD impacts so many aspects of life.
Not just attention.
Exactly.
And what's crucial here is understanding that ADHD isn't just a clinical diagnosis.
It's a lived experience.
That shapes how women navigate the world.
That leads us to neurodiversity.
This idea that there's no one right way for a brain to work.
The authors really encourage us to reframe ADHD,
Not as a deficit.
but as a different way of thinking and being.
It's about recognizing that the world needs all kinds of brains.
We lose out on so much brilliance and innovation when we try to force everyone into a neurotypical mold.
So for women with ADHD,
This shift in perspective can be incredibly liberating,
it allows them to see their strengths and their challenges in a new light.
and to celebrate the unique contributions they bring to the table.
Now, here's where things get really interesting.
The book's core message is about untangling your identity from the challenges of ADHD,
It's not about denying those challenges.
but about recognizing that they're only one part of who you are.
They introduce this brilliant concept of 3 intertwined layers of identity.
Okay.
The first layer is you and the world.
Which explores how societal expectations and gender roles impact how women with ADHD perceive themselves.
It's like the world is constantly sending you these messages about who you're supposed to be.
And when you don't fit that mold.
It can be really damaging.
Exactly.
And then there's the second layer, you and your brain,
Where the book digs into the neurological underpinnings of ADHD.
and its impact on executive functioning.
But importantly, it emphasizes self-compassion and understanding.
It's about accepting your brain for how it works, quirks and all.
And finally, there's you and your world again.
This layer brings the first two together.
It's about navigating the world authentically,
With your ADHD as a part of you, who you are.
not something that defines you.
This resonated with me so much.
It's like finally giving yourself permission to be your full, complex self.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that you are more than your ADHD.
You have strengths, passions.
And a unique perspective that all contribute to who you are.
Now let's talk about something that I think will hit home for a lot of our listeners.
Those subtle but incredibly damaging messages we often receive.
What the authors call you messages, she messages, and dumb messages.
These messages can be so insidious.
Because they often come disguised as well-intentioned advice or observations.
But for women with ADHD,
They can chip away at their self-esteem.
and reinforce feelings of inadequacy.
It's like being told to just try harder.
Or be more organized when you're already struggling to keep your head above water.
The book gives so many relatable examples of these messages.
For example, remember Sarah.
Who is constantly being told to just make a list. Or who is always being asked.
Why are you so sensitive?
These messages invalidate the real struggles that women with ADHD face.
Recognizing these messages and their impact is the first step toward dismantling their power.
And the book offers some great strategies for doing just that.
We'll dive into those a bit later.
But for now,
I think it's crucial for our listeners to reflect on times they've received these messages.
how did they make you feel?
How do they impact your sense of self?
It's about becoming aware of those ingrained beliefs.
And starting to challenge them.
That awareness is key to untangling your identity from your ADHD.
Speaking of those societal expectations we talked about earlier,
The book goes on to explore how traditional gender roles can create additional pressure and conflict for women with ADHD.
there's this pervasive expectation that women should be caregivers, multitaskers,
And masters of organization.
all while maintaining a picture-perfect life.
These expectations can be overwhelming for anyone.
But for women with ADHD, they can feel utterly impossible.
The book shares some really powerful stories that highlight these struggles.
I'm thinking of Clarissa.
The artist who felt immense pressure to conform to her family's traditional views on marriage and motherhood.
Clarissa's story really illustrates how societal expectations can clash with the realities of living with ADHD,
It can create this intense internal conflict,
where you feel like you're constantly failing.
both in your own eyes and in the eyes of others.
And it's not just about external expectations, right?
Women with ADHD often internalize these messages.
Leading to feelings of shame and inadequacy.
Absolutely.
It becomes this vicious cycle of self-doubt and self-sabotage.
And this is where we see those hiding behaviors emerge.
This is something I think a lot of women with ADHD can relate to.
That feeling of needing to hide parts of yourself for fear of judgment,
It could be turning down opportunities,
avoiding social situations,
not asking for help.
or even masking your symptoms to appear more neurotypical.
I know I've been guilty of this myself.
I used to be so embarrassed about my messy house that I wouldn't invite friends over.
It felt like this big secret I had to keep hidden.
The book gives another poignant example with Sari's story of whispering answers in class.
She was so afraid of being seen as different that she downplayed her intelligence.
That one really hit home for me.
I used to do the same thing.
It's like we're so afraid of being judged that we diminish ourselves before anyone else has the chance.
But here's the thing.
You don't have to live like that.
This book is about embracing your brightness, even with the challenges of ADHD.
It's about what the authors call radical acceptance.
Not denying your struggles, but choosing to live fully and authentically anyway.
And that leads us to this idea of playing with possibilities.
This part of the book really resonated with me.
It encourages women with ADHD to re-examine their dreams and passions.
It's not about fitting into some preconceived notion of success.
It's about figuring out what truly brings you joy and fulfillment.
The authors talk about 4 types of dreams.
Treasured dreams.
The ones you hold close to your heart.
Updated dreams.
Those that have evolved over time.
What was I thinking? Dreams.
Those you look back on with amusement.
And discard and start fresh dreams.
Where you're ready to create something entirely new.
It's a beautiful framework for approaching your aspirations with curiosity and flexibility.
I love how the book encourages playfulness and experimentation when it comes to pursuing your dreams.
It's not about having a perfect plan.
It's about exploring different paths and seeing what sparks joy.
The story of Margie,
Who always dreamed of singing but never pursued it.
really exemplifies this.
After her ADHD diagnosis,
She realized it wasn't too late to chase that dream.
she started taking lessons and eventually performed at an ADHD conference.
That's so inspiring.
It shows that it's never too late to reconnect with your passions.
Even if you have ADHD.
It's about reclaiming your right to dream.
And to create a life that aligns with your authentic self.
If you love the content.
Please like and subscribe to keep us going.
Now, I know we're only scratching the surface here.
But I think we've already uncovered some incredibly valuable insights.
Absolutely.
This book offers a powerful roadmap for women with ADHD to navigate the world with more confidence and authenticity.
And we're just getting started.
So stay tuned for part 2 of this deep dive, where we'll explore even more practical strategies for embracing your neurodiversity and shining brighter.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
We've been talking about how societal expectations and those sneaky you messages can really impact women with ADHD.
And you know, it's easy to get stuck in those patterns of hiding and self-doubt,
Absolutely.
but the book offers a powerful antidote to that.
The concept of moving into wholeness,
I love that phrase.
what does that look like in practice?
It's about recognizing that you are more than your ADHD,
You have strengths,
challenges,
passion.
and a unique personality that all contribute to who you are.
It reminds me of that exercise the authors provide.
For reflecting on your strengths, challenges, and personal attributes.
It's a great tool for developing a more balanced and nuanced self-image.
It helps you acknowledge both your strength and your struggles without judgment or self-criticism,
It's like taking a step back and seeing yourself as a whole person.
not just a collection of ADHD symptoms.
And from that place of wholeness,
You can start to build a life that truly reflects who you are.
so how do we start putting these ideas into action?
The book has a whole section called Bolder.
Which is packed with practical strategies.
It's about finding ways to navigate the world with more confidence and authenticity.
One of the things the book emphasizes is assertive communication.
This is something a lot of women with ADHD struggle with, right?
We're often socialized to be accommodating and people-pleasing.
which can make it hard to set boundaries and advocate for our needs.
Exactly.
But the book offers some really concrete strategies for shifting those patterns.
Do you have any favorites?
Oh, there are so many good ones.
But if I had to choose,
My top 3 would be Just the Facts, Ma'am.
if flooded, seek higher ground.
And I know I'm messy, but what are you?
Okay, I am intrigued.
Let's break those down.
What's Just the Facts, Ma'am, all about?
It's about being direct and specific when communicating your needs.
Instead of beating around the bush or apologizing for your ADHD.
You state clearly what you need and why.
So, for example, instead of saying, I'm so forgetful, I'm always losing things,
You could say,
I have trouble remembering details.
it would be helpful if you could send me a reminder email.
Exactly.
It's about advocating for yourself without shame or self-deprecation.
And what about if flooded, seek higher ground?
That sounds intriguing.
This one is all about recognizing when you're getting emotionally overwhelmed.
And taking a step back to regulate yourself.
It's okay to excuse yourself from a conversation or situation if you need to calm down and collect your thoughts.
This is so important for women with ADHD.
Who may be more sensitive to stimuli and prone to emotional reactivity.
It's not about avoiding conflict.
It's about self-care and ensuring that you can communicate effectively.
Okay, and lastly, I know I'm messy, but what are you about?
This is a great mantra for reminding yourself that everyone has their own imperfections.
It's about leveling the playing field and recognizing that you're not the only one who struggles.
It's a way to challenge those internalized messages of shame and inadequacy. It's about remembering that you're worthy of respect and support, even with your ADHD.
And it's about challenging the expectation that women should be perfect.
These strategies are so helpful.
It's one thing to understand the concepts.
But it's another to have these practical tools to put them into practice.
Absolutely.
And remember, it's a process.
It takes time to shift those ingrained communication patterns.
Be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress along the way.
I think that's a great takeaway for our listeners.
Don't expect to become a master of assertive communication overnight.
Start small
Experiment with these strategies.
and see what works for you.
And don't be afraid to ask for support.
That's a perfect segue to our next topic.
Building a supportive network.
The book really emphasizes that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to ADHD.
And finding the right support is crucial.
They might include therapists,
Coaches,
support groups.
and even friends and family who understand and validate your experience.
The book talks about the importance of finding therapists who are knowledgeable about ADHD in women,
It's about finding professionals who get it.
who understand the unique challenges and strengths of women with ADHD.
And who can tailor their approach to your individual needs.
And support isn't just about professional help, right?
The book also highlights the importance of connecting with other women with ADHD.
There's something so powerful about finding a community where you feel seen and understood.
Support groups and online forums can be incredible resources for sharing experiences
Finding validation.
and offering encouragement.
And for our listeners who might be concerned about the cost of therapy or coaching,
The book offers some great tips for finding affordable support options.
there are sliding scale therapy options
Free support groups.
and a wealth of online resources available.
It's about being resourceful and advocating for your needs.
I think it's so important to emphasize that seeking support is not a sign of weakness.
It's a sign of strength and self-awareness.
It's about taking ownership of your well-being and creating a life that works for you.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
There's a whole community of people out there ready to support you on your journey.
As we wrap up our deep dive into a radical guide for women with ADHD,
I'm curious to hear what stood out to you the most.
what's one nugget of wisdom you'll carry with you?
Oh, that's a tough one.
There are so many.
I think the most powerful message is that you don't have to fix yourself to start living.
Embrace your neurodiversity
Find your people.
and start creating a life that truly reflects who you are.
I love that.
It's about letting go of those shoulds and supposed tos.
And giving yourself permission to be your full, authentic self.
And it's about recognizing that ADHD is a part of you, not all of you.
You have so much more to offer the world than just your diagnosis.
This book really challenges us to rethink the narrative around ADHD.
Especially for women.
It shines a light on the unique challenges women face.
But it also celebrates their incredible strengths.
Resilience and creativity.
And it reminds us that there's no shame in seeking support.
Whether it's from a therapist
A coach.
or your loved ones, having a network of people who understand and validate your experience can make all the difference.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired to embrace their neurodiversity, and shine a little brighter.
What's one small step they can take this week?
I'd say start by noticing those you messages, she messages, and duh messages that we talked about earlier,
Pay attention to how they make you feel.
and start to challenge those limiting beliefs.
You are worthy of respect
Support.
and love exactly as you are.
That's such a powerful reminder.
And remember, progress over perfection.
Don't get discouraged if you stumble along the way.
It's all part of the journey.
And if you find yourself needing a boost of inspiration,
We highly recommend picking up a copy of A Radical Guide for Women with ADHD.
you can find a link to purchase it in our show notes.
And remember, we get a small commission from Amazon for purchases made through that link.
So you'll be supporting our show while you're at it.
We'd love to keep this conversation going.
Share your thoughts
Insights?
or questions in the comments below.
Tell us what resonated with you or what you're going to try this week.
And if there's a book you'd love to see us deep dive into,
Let us know.
we're always looking for new and inspiring reads to share with our listeners.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
We hope you found it insightful
Empowering.
and maybe even a little bit radical.
Remember, you are powerful beyond measure.
Embrace your brilliance and go out there and shine.
And please like and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives like this one.
See you next time.